Welcome to another insightful episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. In this podcast, Mary Catherine Johnson and Evan Johnson highlight the successes and struggles of parents in business. They share how to be the example of success in entrepreneurship to foster the same in your child, and so much more. Are you ready to power up?
Welcome, everybody, to another very exciting episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. I have got my lovely co-host, Mary Catherine Johnson, / my mom, here with me as always. And we have a very exciting guest today, Samantha, or as I know her from Mary, Sam. Sam, welcome to the podcast.
Howdy.
So, I like to start off in the same place with all my guests, and that is by making sure that any listeners who may not know who you are and what you're all about, I want to get them on the same page. So go ahead and tell us, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Sam Groff. I own Omnibus Services, but beyond that, I am a mom, a wife, an avid gardener, a former teacher, and a whole lot of things. What that means in general is I'm focused entirely on sustainability and being able to live a sustainable lifestyle. And I don't mean just in the environment and ecosystems. I mean, in general, like there's just levels of things that there's only so much you can do. The hustle culture doesn't fit my lifestyle. I am a mom first and foremost, and I'm homeschooling my kids. So being an entrepreneur and owning Omnibiz looks like, for me, doing instructional design and being a chief operating officer outside of being a parent. So that's me in a nutshell, and I love to play in the dirt. Literally.
I love this. This is so, where can we go first? Wow. Mom, Omnibiz, operations, homeschooling, wife, sustainability. Wow. How in the world do we unpack that, Evan? What do we tackle first?
That's an incredible question. You're doing a lot of really impressive stuff, which I love. I mean, you know me, my what stuck out to me the most was her comment on hustle culture.
Yeah,
because
I hate hustle culture.
Hustle culture, God, I hate it so much. I mean, you have to put in the work to grow a business and all that kind of stuff, but you don't have to work yourself under the ground. You know, you can live a life outside of business. I feel like there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who are like, if you're not working in your business 24 hours a day, or if you go out with friends on a Friday night, then you're screwing yourself and you're never going to achieve success. Like, what are you saying? You know, you really want that?
No.
Yeah, no. I would rather my business grow slower so I can actually live my life. So yeah, have fun. Yeah, so have fun with that. That's not. And
the only thing I'd add to that, I mean, obviously I agree 100%, but I got to back up a little bit because when I first started in business, that hustle culture was still there. And what I kept saying to myself, I thought I had to come up with an excuse as to why I wasn't doing the hustle. And my excuse basically at that time was I had kids and, it's okay if my business grows slower because I want to, put more with my kids. And you don't need an excuse. You are the excuse. You're a human being and human beings need to take care of themselves. So period.
Right. It's okay because it's okay. Because it's okay.
I mean, I burnt out teaching, a long time ago, and then I burnt myself out in the entrepreneurial world, instructional design work, where I was doing that all hours of the night. And I'm not a night person. Just to be very, very clear, I am totally not a night person. I pumpkin out around 10 o'clock. I'm done. So the idea to do hustle culture with 2 kids, it was unsustainable for me and it was dumb. And I was literally burning the candle at both ends. And I had left the classroom being a high school teacher because I was burning myself out at 2 ends. I couldn't be a good mom and be a solid teacher all the time. So for me, I just didn't want to go down that rat hole again.
And look what the example you gave your kids. So I think correct me if I'm wrong, Evan, but one of the things that you understood growing up was that mom was always working. And if I was sitting at the watching TV, I had my laptop there. If I was, if I needed to do something, I was at the computer while you were doing something else. Isn't that right?
Are you talking about when I was a kid or right now?
Either one, but mainly when you were a kid.
Yes. Well, when I was a kid, that was true. I mean, Dad more, of course, because he was at an office and he was away. So just the simple fact that you're home, like, I honestly I never like thought consciously, oh man, mom was always working. It's just like, that's just what you did. I mean, I built Legos and you made shirts. Like, that was kind of, what you were doing. It was never something negative. But yes, you were usually working in some capacity that wasn't very. I never really saw you do just something like for fun very often.
Yeah. See,
but also as a kid and not very observant.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, we went, like when we went to the park. I mean, I wouldn't be working while we went to the park, right? I would go down the slide, or I would play on the swing.
Just you though. I mean, playing with your kids doesn't count. I mean, like if you're doing something for you. Well, I mean, it does count, but you know what I mean. I never saw like do something.
That's it. Except unless it was reading a Harry Potter book.
Oh well, yeah, reading.
Reading, right? That's really the number one thing that I did. But it's true. So you don't look at the example you're giving. I mean, yeah, Evan just realizes that I do whatever I do. Whatever it is, it is. It's not necessarily categorized as one thing or another because I was home and I was able to be with him.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, some people, you don't have to have, a hobby could be just more time spending building your business. Like, that's fine if that's what you like doing.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. As opposed to Dad, who was gone, who had to go to an office. So he equated being gone with working, right? So, but what you're doing is you're homeschooling, you're gardening, you're doing all the things, you're cooking. I love. Okay, so this is one of the such fun things. I see Sam doing all the time, experimenting with different types of foods, right? And getting together with other people and experimenting with different cultural foods and experiences.
I mean, I may not want to travel the world physically because I'm a homebody, but I like to eat the world. I definitely like to get together with people and try new things from all over the world. I mean, I may not ever go anywhere in the middle of Africa, but dang, I love Ethiopian food. But like, same concept. I may never go to Asia, but I like some pho. I mean, yes.
So how are you, do your kids know pretty much what you do in your business? Could they
don't necessarily understand what I do in my business, but they know that I work with really cool people. And that's the biggest thing. I will say this, and not just because I work with you, Mary, but one of the things that my kids have really appreciated from me being an entrepreneur is that you have to love what you do, and you have to, in a little bit, find a way to love the people that you're working with. Otherwise, it's going to be torture. And that was one of the things that I saw a lot in corporate America, even though I wasn't in it for very long, but doing all the freelance stuff that I did, it was very, very acutely visible that if you didn't fit that culture and you didn't fit with those people, you weren't going to be hired back on for another, round of a project. Even if you were spot on nailing that project out of the ballpark, if you just didn't fit, A, why are you going to torture yourself? And then B, why would they hire you back on? So.
Absolutely. And so thinking about, because your kids are, I just happen to know more about you and than many of our other guests. Your kids are very different, right? Very different personalities, right?
For those who don't know, how old are you?
And Evan doesn't know.
For me.
My kids right now are 8 and 11, and within the next 2 months, they'll be 9 and 12. So, they are 3 years apart, and my girl is the oldest, and my son is obviously the youngest, and they are vastly different. my son is incredibly tactile. He can look at a physical puzzle or a project and build it out for you from start to finish. You give him a cardboard box, a pair of scissors, and duct tape, and you will have a massive creation on your hands in a matter of minutes. Where my daughter, on the other hand, is very meticulous into the minutiae of like fine arts and wanting to write stories. She's just very different. And I mean, they're both strong-willed. Thank God they took that after me. I'll give them a positive on that one. It's one of my few traits that I'm very, very happy that they've taken.
And so with that, though, thinking about what you do, you're a very operationally focused person. And so with your daughter, who's the oldest, how can you help her develop those storytelling skills, those skills that she innately has, or those tendencies, I won't call them skills, those tendencies that she innately has? How can you help her hone those or develop those through your business?
Well, one of the things I noticed is literally homeschooling has immensely helped with that. And this is coming from Evan. I don't know if you know this about me, but other than what I said in the opening, but I'm a former high school teacher. I taught American government for 7 years at the school in my neighborhood that I'm in currently. And I've taught in 2 other states, and I've taught a plethora of different social studies courses. But the concept for me was when COVID hit, I went, holy crap, why can't my kids think? Like, I knew that they listened to podcasts with us all the time at home, and we would go to museums and do all sorts of family things and play strategy games and things like that. But my kids couldn't think. Like, school had conditioned them to stop thinking for themselves. And that was hurt my brain as being a teacher, because I went from like, no wonder why my 9th graders can't freaking function. Like, when they get to me, they can't question why the government was doing the things that it was doing, because in elementary school, it was honestly being programmed out of them. So what we're doing with homeschooling right now is really focusing on critical thinking. How do you set up your own time management system? How do you create those positive organizational things for yourself in very different containers for both kids? Like, I mean, that's, as a parent, that becomes sometimes mind-boggling. But then when you're parenting and teaching at the same time, they learn very differently.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have been very bold for you to assume that 9th grade me cared enough about, a school class to put in enough thought to critically think.
Especially if it was about government.
Oh, especially if it was about government.
But that's what those things that being a former high school teacher was. I mean, I had to not physically force anybody, but I had to make it interesting enough to bring it down to a 9th grader level, to want them to engage with it, to be able then to pass the state standardized test, but have to do it in a fun way that they actually walk out of there with an understanding of the Constitution and their rights as people, and that they should question absolutely everything that anybody and the government tells them to do. I mean, that's your fundamental right as a human. Sorry. I'll stand down off my platform on that one.
Soapbox released. But no, and so in thinking about that, I mean, really, that is the perfect segue into the fact that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, there's no one telling. I mean, there's lots of people trying to tell you how to do things or what you should do, but then you're basically building their business and you're doing it their way. But that critical thinking, that whole idea of taking your storytelling daughter and your tactile engineering mind son and trying to help them navigate this world and be self-sustaining, be self-critical, and questioning of what's happening around them in a very healthy way, instead of just following and just doing what someone says just because it's good for someone else, must be good for me. And then taking that and putting it into an entrepreneurial idea. And I mean, think about it. Elon Musk, Nobody's giving him the playbook for Tesla, for electric cars, right? Amazon, nobody gave him the playbook, Bezos, the playbook for building the largest online retailer. So there's no playbook out there that someone can follow. They have to critically think and look at these are the systems I have available. This is the technology that's available. I wonder what we can do. And just go do it.
Public school taught me to short-term memorize random useless facts to pass a test. That was pretty much it. There was nothing in my entire public school career, especially high school, where you'd think it would matter, that taught me anything that would really like apply to my like adult life, except for the social. I mean, there's like, I mean, I'd say what I gained the most was the social aspects of being in school and being around my peers. That was a lot of fun. And I was in band. That was my big extracurricular activity. That taught me a lot about leadership and things like that. I learned a lot from that. But as far as my typical classes go, I mean, like I said, I had to memorize stuff for a test. And then I took the test and then I forgot. But I do still remember that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And that, yeah, so that is, yeah. But that is definitely, there was never like, I think, and some of my friends in law school are saying how much this would help people, like having a basic law course in school so that you know your rights and things of that nature if a situation like that ever arises, or classes that teach you skills that you could apply to life, cooking, things like that. There was one extracurricular cooking class, but it's like all the kind of deadbeat kids took that because all they did was you make like a fruit tart and then eat it, and that was just like it. So like a real class about it, you know, things like that.
We used to call it home ec. I took home ec. I learned how to sew. I learned how to cook. It was home economics. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't have that.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe there was a class, but
I had that in middle school. Really? Yeah, wow. But then that stuff was removed from high school, unless you chose to go down that path. But you know, with my kids, you know, we're doing so many hands-on things anyway. I mean, when I talk about sustainability and gardening, holy cow, like my kids learn so much random stuff from me just because I geek out about that. So, you know, Mary Catherine reads Harry Potter. I read like square foot gardening and how to do herbal medicine and all that random stuff. But one of the things that I think my kids have learned the most is that being critical of yourself is not a bad thing. And honestly, with what I do, like with instructional design things, that is always having an editor, always having somebody reviewing it. My kids laugh, but one of the things that we're working on right now with homeschooling is that I'm teaching them how to edit their own work. So they're going through, they're using like how do you put in quotation marks, how do you put in proper commas, colons, all that stuff. Make sure you capitalize proper nouns and stuff. But they're also going through it and they're seeing like when I write an email that I think might be overly sensitive or either too direct, I can go one or two ways. It seems I get polarized. I either like squishy, fuzzy, happy people, or this is how it's going to be done. I have my husband edit my stuff, it's appropriate. And that is something that they've had to see and do because, my daughter's in 6th grade now. When she was in elementary school, everybody was just like, yeah, you did a great job. Here's your rubric. But there was never any critique on why? Like, why did you write this? How did it go? Explain this. Make sure you capitalize your proper noun. And then my husband and I do the same thing in the garden. Like, it's constantly that self-evolution is always happening. And I think that's one of those really crucial things about sustainability. And I know Mary's word for the year is relevancy, but like for me, relevancy is living. Like that, I don't have an option to not be relevant. If I'm not figuring it out and finding a way to be sustainable and reduce my carbon footprint in the world, my kids won't have life. Like they won't have anything left. And that is so vital to me and how I live. It just is.
And that I just have to say that to allow for that critical thinking without judgment
Mhm.
is I think, unfortunately, what is extremely lacking in our society. It's more on, well, you feel bad. Oh, we can't say anything because you feel bad. But that doesn't allow for growth. That doesn't allow
Yeah.
for other opinions, other thoughts, other debate. And what you're doing is helping your kids understand that just because someone might disagree with me or think I should do something differently or give me feedback that might not be telling me how great I am does not mean I'm a bad person.
No.
Or that they're a bad person for raising up. It just means this is growth. And I have the autonomy to decide, you know what? Thank you for sharing that. I don't agree with you. I'm going to keep it the way it is. Totally cool. Where you can do that. But to be able to, and especially in sustainability, oh my goodness. And so that skill that you're giving them, again, bringing it back to entrepreneurship, is going to allow them to not be, have that, they'll have a different imposter syndrome on their shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll have a little further along imposter. It won't be that original, oh, someone didn't like my work. Oh my gosh, something must be wrong with me. I'm terrible, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just, that is a reality. I watched my daughter, so she's in BSA Scouts, and I don't know if you guys know, like, BSA Scouts. So Boy Scouts of America went to just calling itself BSA because they let girls in. And with that, my daughter is involved in that. And, she's an entire girl troop where we live. And I got to hear her be on their leadership committee Sunday and hear her speak up about something I would have never thought she had been listening to. When mom goes on these tirades about like sustainability, go with the flow, but yet also have a very strong sense of self and respect who you are and don't treat other people like crap because you don't want to be treated like crap. Those opportunities were something I wanted to give her if I was in a traditional like classroom setting, because my husband and I would have been so burnt out, and she would have been burnt out because getting up in the morning when teenagers, well, she's not even a teenager yet, but she acts like one. Teenagers need their sleep. It's something that we've known for years. Like when I was in college learning about teaching, we were being told that teenagers should have been allowed to start at 10 o'clock and go later in the day till 5 o'clock. But we're
just start at 10 o'clock.
That's it. I know Evan would agree with you on that one.
my school day would have been
they've scientifically proven that teenagers should be.
Yeah.
Oops, you kind of jumbled there, Evan. What was that? I think we.
Am I back?
Are you back?
Yeah, I think I'm back.
I think we can hear you.
Hold on.
What were you saying about your school? Yikes. Oh,
okay. I think we're good.
There, I think you are.
Sorry, my internet's not too good in here.
No worries.
I just am still in awe about you saying starting a school day at 7 or 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Starting a school, my school day would have been like a solid of the way through already at 10 o'clock. Because I woke up at 5:30 a.m. to be at school by 7 a.m. Monday through Friday.
Yep. But they've proven that's scientifically unhealthy.
Oh, yeah. I remember everybody saying that. Like all the students were saying that while I was in school. But it doesn't matter.
The school didn't accommodate it.
Yeah. And then all the work that they assign afterwards, too. And with encouraging extracurriculars. You don't get home until late anyway. And then you have all the homework you have to do. And then you're up late. And then what about living an actual life outside of school? You can't do that.
So unreasonable. And even as a teacher, like it's unreasonable. The expectations are unreasonable. No one is a robot. And again, I don't want to get on my soapbox, but like seriously, educational system in this country was built on factory workers. Only 7% of the United States is actually a factory worker. So that means it is a broken system. It is only educating 7% of the population in the manner in which it's supposed to be educating them. I'm done now. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, and then we have any. Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say you're in good company here. I mean,
Yeah,
like
I know.
I've said, I could. Oh my God, yeah. Public school.
Well, and then you talk
yikes.
about college. Think about college, and then it goes on and it keeps going, and the whole system, not just high school.
Yeah, well, college
I mean,
is
and
just high
that's-
school part 2, or like live in high school if you're living there.
And that's something my husband and I have been like bouncing around with the kids, for a long time. At one point, my daughter wanted to be a vet, and then she was like, maybe not. And I'm like, that's okay. You don't have to go to college. I don't care what you do, as long as you're happy in what you do. Where my son's adamant he's going to go be a miner. He's going to go find all the diamonds for my daughter so she can buy a llama farm. Like, that's his aspiration, to make his big sister happy. It's
A llama farm.
Yep.
Specifically, you just got to
A
get
llama
diamonds for a llama farm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he's decided that his way is to then go mining for diamonds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the way he's going to make his money so that he can then go and do the diamond mining is that he's going here like his dad, but yet figure out how to extract the precious metals out of the water of the ocean. So there's a whole level of thinking that I just am dumbfounded at. But I know it's just because we're giving them these opportunities in our house, and they're seeing it in so many different ways. They laugh because I have more degrees than my chemical engineering husband. I have a master's degree in curriculum and education. Like, it's just is. It's curriculum and instruction, and it's a master's. And my husband only has a bachelor's of art. And it's just, they see it very differently. They were just talking about it. They're like, well, maybe I don't have to go to school. And I'm like, yeah, maybe you don't. Maybe you can go to trade school if you want, if you really do want to be a miner, or go be a geologist.
Which I have a feeling they're probably not going to want to do when they get old enough to make those decisions.
It's just fun to let them use imagination.
Oh my goodness. And I don't know if Evan remembers this, but there was a time when he was going to open up a business selling foods based on the spice cinnamon. He loved cinnamon.
Bakery.
Yeah, he was going to open a bakery and make things that had cinnamon in them.
Fascinating.
I mean, it's still like food, so I mean, hey, if I was using like that, a bakery would be a lot of fun. I gotta be honest. Young me was onto something, but I gotta be honest, I have a feeling I don't know, I can't imagine mining is very fun. I feel like it's one of the most challenging professions a human being could be in.
But if you see what he does in my backyard, you will understand his love for digging. He's all about the digging and blowing things up. And that, with our garden, he gets hands on all the time. I mean, in the fall, like, he was helping me, lay all the garlic and shallots out. The early summer, late spring, we're going to have a buku amount of garlic and shallots, and we'll just then follow it up with more beans and, do the whole cycle.
Yeah. No, college is definitely, it's something that you should strategically invest in if necessary for your desired career.
Yeah, but they're 8 and 11. I mean, my biggest thing is let them have their dreams and imagination. I was almost pigeonholed at a really young age, and I'm glad that in the end I completely pivoted. But I have not, my 10-year goal and my 5-year goal, like, while teaching, never even happened. And to realize that and look back, but to also realize that my internal goal that I was never actually expressing to anyone, which was to be at home with my kids, has come to fruition versus what I was outwardly putting out to the world, which is what I thought I had to do, which was like, I wanted to be high school administrator. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that, None of those came to fruition, but that is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it's allowed my kids to see that you can change and pivot on a dime and make yourself happy while doing it.
Get closer and closer. Yeah. to who you are.
You don't have to start the career that you were quote unquote supposed to start, and you don't have to stay there until the day you die / retire, which for a lot of people might be the same thing. There's there are no rules when it comes to living life, except, you can't murder people or whatever. But other than that, there are no rules as far as what you want to live, how you want to live your life. So you don't have to stay in the same career for your entire life. It's just challenging to switch, but that's okay. It could be worth it. Yeah.
It is, absolutely. And that's really, like we started this whole conversation, the path to uncovering who you are and the path to allowing yourself to grow and change and learn. And the only way we can learn is through not necessarily failure, but from making mistakes and doing things that probably don't serve us best. Getting back to the papers that your kids write, right? There's only way they can learn, unless they're just going to memorize every single grammatical rule in the world. You can't. You can only put out a paper, see what's wrong about it that may need to be corrected in terms of grammar or spelling or things like that, then learn and do it differently next time. It's just like life, no different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah. So, Sam, as we begin to wind down the podcast, we like to end on a bit of a doozy of a question. But it has evoked a lot of very powerful answers, so don't stress out too much. The question is, if you were to die tomorrow, what would be the entrepreneurial legacy that you would leave behind for your kids to use as they potentially grow into entrepreneurs themselves?
What I would leave them with is not debt, which is the biggest thing for myself. So not leave them with debt that college and all that crap that's all paid off. But entrepreneurial legacy that you can change and you can pivot as long as it makes you happy and as long as it serves you and those that you love in the best way possible, because that is foundationally what it has been for me in my entrepreneurial journey. When I got laid off in 2016 to starting working, as a freelancer to moving into a business owner, during those first 2 years, my husband was abroad for work and I had to be at home and make it work with 2 small kids. They were 3 and 6 at the time. And they have seen me grow as an entrepreneur, and they have seen what that looks like as shifting and changing, evidently always morphing into something new. So that you can change and that you don't have to stay static.
Right.
I can add something to that because, of course, I know Sam, and I know that one of the things that she is inherent in what she teaches her kids, and not just teaches her kids, is how she lives. That entrepreneurially, personally, cooking, I don't care what you're talking about, she gives to her community. Mm-hmm. It's not just what makes you happy and what makes the people you love happy. It's the world. It's how can you serve the world? She serves so many people with just her existence that I know she's helping make our world a better place because she's giving the example of that in her kids. And not a lot of people do that. And I applaud that. And I know that whatever other skills you give them, like you're talking about the pivoting and the changing, that's only going to expand upon what naturally they've been given just with your example. So I'm just here to say thank you for that, because I know that makes our world a better place.
Yeah. I don't usually think about making my kids putting the garbage cans away as fixing my community of our neighbors, but it is. I mean, when you put it in the sense that you do, like one of those old school style things that we actively instill with my children, is that you lift the people around you. And it, because we're all going to be at the bottom sometime, we all need a helping hand. And if we don't do that, then we're not just screwing ourselves, we're screwing the whole world. So,
yep.
Amen. Absolutely. Thank you, Sam. I'm so happy that we had a chance to chat.
This is fun. I love it. This is awesome.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. Hopefully you came away with valuable tools you can use in your business, life, and relationship with your kids. If you want to hear more about our mission, or if you want more insights into cultivating your parent entrepreneur power, join our movement to make entrepreneurship more accessible to parents and their kids at parententrepreneurpower.com.